Towards the end of Term 3, we will host our annual three-way conferences. And why we have three-way conferences is because parents, students and teachers are all valued as contributors to the reporting process and share in the responsibility for learning and the accounting for progress. And since students are at the centre of all reporting, it follows that they should be a part of the reporting procedure. Within our middle school, we will be conducting three-way conferences using an adapted Johari window model. The Johari window model is an ATL model that is used primarily within arts and lang lit, and our modified model was created at our middle school curriculum meeting and is designed to help years 6 to 9 students reflect on their learning journey so they can share with their parents and their teachers. The IB standards and practices that we are addressing through this particular approach are firstly C 3.13, so teaching and learning engages students in reflecting on how, what and why they are learning. C 4.6, so the school has systems for reporting student progress aligned with the assessment philosophy of the programs. And C 4.8, the school provides opportunities for students to participate in and reflect on the assessment of their work. In your pigeonholes will be the subject-specific guide, so a reflection cycle, that you can have with you for each of the three-way conferences. Where it says arts here, it will then say design, or Christian studies, or lang lit, etc. The first quadrant asks students to reflect on their key learning elements this term and to use an assessment or a piece of work they are most proud of to demonstrate their learning. The second quadrant asks students to reflect on how they learn best within your particular subject and what skills they have acquired to help them demonstrate their learning. And the third quadrant asks students to make the transfer of how their learning within your class can be applied to experiences beyond the classroom. Within both an IB World School and a Lutheran school, service as a result of students' learning is fundamental. Within this third quadrant, we ask students to reflect on how their learning can be of benefit to others through service. And the final quadrant draws back to the learning attitudes and the attributes of the learner profile, where students can reflect on their attitude towards their learning and how they are developing an attribute of the learner profile through learning within your class. To provide you with a visual of just what a three-way conference can look like, we have our fabulous Good Shepherd talent, Jade, Jack, Cookie and Peter, demonstrating a three-way conference for you. To help our students visualise this process and their role in the three-way conferences, can you please show this clip to your class so they can best prepare for our three-way conferences? Please take your time over the next couple of weeks to pause for a section of your lesson with your classes and give them an opportunity to reflect on their learning, reflecting on how, what and why they are learning, how their learning can be transferred to service and action, and how they are developing as young people. There's a generic copy of the reflection cycle saved in the following folder, so it's in curriculum. You go from there to MYP, from there to parent communication, and from there to three-way conferences.
So welcome to my Year 9 three-way conference for arts, visual arts. Thanks Mum and Dad for taking the time to come tonight.
Good work, thanks Jane. Would you like to take us through the reflections that are in your learning experience here for visual arts, please Jane?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you what I learned in arts this semester. With Mr. Schubert, we've been inquiring into how artists create works or in the physical environment to express their sense of identity. We first looked at what environmental art is and then how we can create art inspired by that to make different meanings, and that's all in my process journal, so that shows how I created examples of landscapes at the Howard Springs Reserve. And I also discovered that I learn best in art when I see the work of other artists and talk about it with my friends.
Well, that's good. So Mum and Dad, you got any feedback for Jane?
Well, it sounds like she's doing all right, yeah.
So, all right, we're going to move on to the second quadrant then. What skills have you developed this term that have helped you to create your environmental art piece?
The skills I learned are primarily like painting, and I learned how to colour mix and flat wash and use watercolours.
Yeah, so Mum and Dad, this is one area that I'd really encourage Jade to work on. She needs to practice these skills a bit more. choose an area that interests you and then apply your watercolour painting to those skills at home as well. So, you know, Jackson's and Spotlight, they're two places that you can go to get some watercolour.
Yep.
And then if you get those, Jade can practice at home. That'd be fantastic. So Jade, we're going to move on to the third quadrant now, which is all about how you can use your skills elsewhere and whether or not you can use them to serve other people.
I think I could probably use my skills to maybe like raise awareness of like environmental issues, so maybe make people a bit more positive about environmental issues, and maybe do that in like a visual forum or something.
Yeah, good work. So what about reflecting on your attitudes towards learning within arts? How's your attitude changed over this term?
I think I started the term, like I didn't really care about environmental arts, I didn't know much about it, but as we began to look at like Albert Namatjira, I became more interested, and then we kind of studied like contemporary artists like Andy Goldsworthy, and I became like even more interested because they were really cool, and then I think I got better in my attitude.
The attitude. So do you think you need to find an interest in what you're learning about to have a good attitude?
Probably not. I should probably have a better attitude for all classes, even if I'm not interested.
How do you think you can get that good attitude though for all of the other classes?
Maybe I could like be more positive in class and sit with more positive people, and maybe try to be a bit more grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, this was one area where I saw Jade change. She started being uninterested, that was quite clear, but she became more interested and she became involved in all of the lessons. Then I was thrilled to see that Jade had used social media like Snapchat and Instagram with her friends to share what she'd been learning, so that was a good thing. It was a great turnaround. And finally, Jade, we're going to look at the final quadrant of the reflection one.
The learner profile that I developed the most this term is caring, and that's through like learning to care for the environment in what we've been doing in art, and I think I've become more responsible for making sure that I'm like recycling, like I'm sure you've seen that bit at home a bit more, making you guys put everything in there, and not having a negative impact. But probably next term I need to look at being more balanced and try and get ready for senior school a bit more, and especially with like time for assessments and homework.
So what kind of things do you reckon you could do to be more balanced?
I could probably spend like less time on Facebook, and maybe on my homework, and perhaps even look at where I'm studying, like not sitting in front of the TV. Yeah.
And how about your assessments? Do you take on that feedback from sector, from what teachers are putting on to sector, and taking that on board to improve?
Yeah, I think I need to just make sure that if I don't understand feedback, that I'm asking about it, and make sure that I can write down any of the feedback, maybe on my process journal or in my workbooks or something, to help me with that.
Good idea.
Okay, well, if that's it.
That's it from me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The reflection cycles will be printed, laminated and popped into your pigeonhole for you by Wednesday of week 8. Thank you for your support here in helping our students learn to be more of a central part of the reporting process. Thanks.